It's the 22nd of May and I'm Tom Glasson. Welcome to The Roast. Now, since $5 from every trip to the GP will go towards medical research, I'm doing my bit to cure cancer by trying to get sick. That's why I am reusing these tissues, ignoring the 3-second rule for food I dropped, and I'm hugging the sick now. Bring it in, Sheaton. Oh, that's for health. Do it again, but in my open mouth. Achoo! Tonight, woo! A look at the Abbott government's shit week, and confusion abounds over the GP co-payment scheme. I'm especially confused because no one has said who'll be co-paying with me. First though, Mark Humphries has the headlines.
Liberal Senator Cory Bernardi, seen here not reading a book, has given his take on the Abbott government's first budget. In the words of someone using a knife that's been banging around in the drawer for a long time, it's pretty blunt.
There are plenty of regular people who are disappointed with aspects of the budget, and their concerns are entirely legitimate.
I never thought I'd say this, but Cory Bernardi is right. Regular people are concerned. Irregular people, well, I can't speak for them. So now Bernardi's being reasonable. I'm ready to hear what he's got to say. Give me a legitimate concern, Cory.
If it was up to me, I'd limit the ABC's public funding to current radio stations and 2 television channels.
Oh, there he goes again. Only 2 channels, Cory. Careful now, you don't want to get ABC for Kids offside. But I'll give Cory one more chance. What did he make of the co-payment to fund medical research?
Personally, I would prefer to see the co-payment directed to debt reduction, but the government decided otherwise.
Don't you hate it when you're in government and you're always getting screwed by the government? Bernardi's thoughts about the budget were sent to his supporters in an e-letter from his website, corybernardi.com. Fans of his website, by which I mean you, Cory, will know that it has the tagline,
"Common sense lives here."
Unfortunately, other Bernardi Google searches indicate common sense may have moved out a few years ago.
Bernardi resigns after bestiality comment.
The federal government has changed the school chaplaincy and student welfare program so that it will no longer pay for non-religious counsellors. Good, because the last thing we need in our schools is people who believe in facts. And the changes mean religious welfare workers have a serious leg up in getting positions in Australian schools. So, you're applying for the chaplain student welfare position. Can I ask where you studied?
Sydney University.
Sydney University? I've never heard of that church.
Well, it's not a church.
Next! I believe the job eventually went to this guy. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark. Well, first up tonight, we turn to Medicare and the introduction of a $7 GP co-payment, soon to become the biggest pain in the butt about going to your GP, aside from 3 inches of lubricated doctor finger. And like me and my new tap water delivery service, the government is finding it hard to make people want to pay for things that they currently get for free. But if you're struggling to wrap your head around Tony Abbott's $7 GP co-payment, don't worry, so is Tony Abbott. In a radio interview yesterday, he said that members of the general public would only have to pay a $7 fee for the first 10 visits each year, and after that it would go back to being free. And that sounds like great news. I mean, it's not true news, but it's great sounding news, which is probably why he said it. The PM's own office, though, ended up having to amend his statement, saying,
"The safety net for 10 visits only applies to concession card holders and people aged under 16.
For everyone else, there's MasterCard. Or cash, they'll take anything as long as it's $7 of legal tender. But that exemption for under 16-year-olds could prove to be a handy loophole for anyone wanting to save a couple of bucks at the doctor's office.
Okay, Davey, what seems to be the problem today?
Well...
Doc, my son's developing this weird skin rash that I think is from anxiety.
Anxiety, okay. You having trouble at school?
Yeah, you see, he's coming home from work. School most nights, feeling depressed, and he's taking it pretty hard. He started drinking again to dull the pain, but it's just not working anymore.
Okay.
Plus, since he hit 40, his joints aren't as good as they used to be, and that old footy injury from university is acting up again. Look, I've told him that his playing days are behind him, but you know what kids are like.
Okay, well, I'm going to see what I can do.
Oh, great. Also, he's due for a prostate exam.
Aw, an exam?
Yeah, it's never too early to start thinking about your butt health. And when it came to confusion about the Medicare co-payment, well, the man who wrote the budget was like a doctor and couldn't read his own handwriting. Treasurer Joe Hockey appeared on Q&A on Monday and told this man with 8 chronic illnesses that everything was going to be okay. Well, at least money-wise.
Because you'd be on a care plan with your doctor. Obviously, you've got a number of chronic diseases. in that situation, you are not affected by the co-payment.
Okay, so you're not affected by the co-payment, you'll be affected by many co-payments. Because the Australian Medical Association noted the exemptions are only for special consultations, not day-to-day treatments. And then an AMA spokesperson said of Joe Hockey that he either doesn't understand, or is misusing the statistic, or is lying. 3 equally bad prognoses there, but fear not, my nana had an old home remedy for that. You just squeeze a bit of lemon juice in your ear, tickle a garlic, and then read the budget that you wrote before you actually speak about it. Health Minister Peter Dutton came out bravely, though, and defended the co-payment, saying,
Labor may pretend that you can give services away for free.
"Yeah, Labor, stop pretending you can give services away for free. What do you think this is, the last 40 years? But if the Medicare co-payment does go through and you don't have a kid that you can blame your alcoholism on, well, for a lot of people, there will only be one option left for free health advice."
Our next patient, Clark Richards, travelled all the way from Australia to see Dr. Christian.
Yeah, I guess it's not that embarrassing at all, really, but I've had this rash. I think it's from anxiety.
And originally, was your penis pretty much straight?
How do you know? And I mean, what's straight these days anyway?
With a curve this much, you've only really got one option.
Do absolutely nothing invasive to my penis at all?
Eesh, someone needs to diagnose that doctor's haircut. Also, are there open auditions for that show? Because a government dismantling one of the world's best medical systems? That sounds pretty embarrassing. We'll be right back.
While Tom's wondering whether his own body is freakish enough to appear on Embarrassing Bodies, why don't you hop online and answer tonight's question? Have you ever started to dismantle one of the world's best medical systems? Why'd you do it? Are you immune to all disease? Or just someone who can afford to pay more for healthcare? We'd love to hear about it at the Roast TV or hashtag RoastTV.
Finally tonight, we're taking a moment to send our thoughts and prayers to the big guy, Tony Abbott. Whatever you think about our Prime Minister, and recent polls suggest you probably hate him, the guy has had almost as tough a week as a phone sex worker pensioner or a man with 8 chronic diseases. Thanks to social media sites like Twitter, Tony Abbott's gaffes have blown up like a Mentos in a bottle of Diet Coke, with Twitter holding the Prime Minister to account in a way that Labor wasn't able to since the election. The last 9 days saw not only the budget from hell and the states turning against him, but he also gave a creepy sex wink while talking to a pensioner forced into telephonic sex, and then it turned out his daughter received a $60,000 design college scholarship recommended by a Liberal Party donor in the face of rising tuition costs.
Oh, because you're so perfect, Tom. Tom Glasson, the golden boy. Sweet baby Tom never winked at an old lady who was struggling to get by. You make me sick. Tom, hating on Tony Abbott for who he really is deep down inside is so 1994. Through to 8:14 tonight.
Yeah, but Nick, a lot of people, and also the environment, feel like Tony Abbott's policies are negatively impacting upon them, and yet he doesn't seem to care.
Well, of course he doesn't care. But most of the time, he suppresses his urges to lick his lips and laugh at pensioners' hilariously tragic life stories, and instead focuses on trying to run the country. I mean, the only reason he isn't constantly gaffing is due to enormous will and determination.
Is that an achievement?
Okay, don't listen to goody-goody lame drops over here, Mr. Prime Minister. I too have trouble keeping those dark thoughts buried in my deepest, dankest brain space. Nice tits. But it's okay, Tony, we can fix this. Just follow these steps in Nikki's Guide to Functioning in Society. Number 1, always assume you're being filmed. Being Prime Minister is like being on Big Brother. We watch your every move, we're constantly trying to vote you out, and most of us think that in real life you'd probably be an annoying piece of shit. Number 2, remember what my mother always said to me. Nick, women hate you. Stop trying, you're only making it worse. And finally 3, that weird smile thing you do where your mouth looks like it's being pulled back by fishhooks, don't do that. The safest thing you can do is permanently have a look of fake empathy on your face, like this. Because while I agree that a pensioner having to work on a sex line is hilarious, most people don't share our sophisticated sense of humour.
So basically, you're saying that the Prime Minister needs to take those urges to do and say really inappropriate things and just shove them down into a dark place so that they only come out behind closed doors around his friends and colleagues and relatives.
Yeah, just like Rudd did. And if none of that helps, Mr. Abbott, I'm a big believer in Freud. So just blame it all on the fact that I want to bang my hot mum.
Yes. Well, if the Prime Minister can just get through the next 120 weeks without farting on a war veteran or licking a grieving widow, he might even get a second term. Good night.